Happy GPT-5 Day to all who celebrate. Now, this is going to be kind of a different format. Rather than a reaction video, I'm going to tell you all of my thoughts leading up to the release of GPT-5. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be looking at kind of all the models that are coming out. So when you look at the fact that we have an increasing level of saturation of video generators, text to image generators, those sorts of things, music generators. One of the things that have come up in the comments is like, well, what's the future of multimodality, right? People are looking at Genie 3, which is Google's first really big like world model. It's a fully 3D, procedurally generated, neurally generated, like playable world. Now, my take on all this, and I'm not saying that GPT-5 is going to satisfy all of these conditions, but here's the trend that I see. My take is that these are all just different kinds of modalities, whether it is text-to-speech, whether it is image, whether it is videos, other sounds, or world models, that we're probably going to see over time a convergence amongst these modalities. So there's basically three things converging. One is reasoning. So all the math benchmarks are starting to get saturated. Now, of course, there's the Millennium Prizes and Frontier Math that are not saturated yet. So, it'll take a little bit of time, but we're on course for that. Next is modality. So we've got basically all the primary digital formats, or at least digital media formats, audio, video, music, text, those sorts of things. Now, video isn't perfect yet, but it's getting there. It seems like it'll probably be, mostly perfected by the end of this year, and then it'll be commoditized next year, the same way that image generators are commoditized this year, that music generators are commoditized this year. So that's coming. But then world models, to me, are just another modality. Now, you might say, well, it might require different architecture, different data types, that sort of thing. But in the grand scheme of things, when you look at it from a product perspective, or you look at it from an outcome-based perspective, it's just another modality. Now, another thing that some people have brought up is, what does this mean for robotics? What does this mean for embodiedness? One thing that I suspect is that we're moving towards what a lot of people have said AGI would require, and I was skeptical. I said, you don't need embodiment. You don't need visuospatial intelligence for AGI. It's a nice to have, but, chimpanzees and pigeons have visuospatial intelligence. It's not really a differentiating factor between lower levels of intelligence and human intelligence. With that being said, it's highly useful. If you want to move boxes around a factory or control a drone autonomously or that sort of thing, visuospatial skills are very, very useful. They're not as useful for necessarily things like calculus or thermodynamics. So I might ultimately be eating my words there, but to tie it back to GPT-5, I suspect that we're going to see a huge jump in math benchmarks, reasoning, planning, and that sort of thing. So the third pillar is agenticness. Rumor has it that GPT-5 is an agentic first model. And so what agentic first means is that it was designed from the ground up with reasoning, with planning, but also with multimodal input and output. So one of the things that many people in the comments have pointed out is that when you just put everything in the model, and I know for a fact that this has been OpenAI's kind of mantra for a couple years now, which is the model should be able to do everything. I think it was Ilya Sutskever actually set that tone probably 2 or 3 years ago within OpenAI. I'm not sure if it was him, but I'm pretty sure it was him. I remember I had a brief conversation with someone at OpenAI who basically said the model should be able to do everything. And at first I was skeptical of that, but when you look at Tesla, they got better full self-driving performance once they said, we're going to do end-to-end. So an end-to-end model basically means it handles perception, processing and planning, and output and controls. So that is kind of the three paradigms of robotics, which is input, processing, and output. That is the primary loop. So if you make a model that can do all of that across all of these tasks and domains, that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a unified convergence. Now, does that mean that it's going to be like one model to rule them all forever? It might, at least for general intelligence applications. I don't think we're going to converge on a single model to do things like what AlphaFold is doing and AlphaProteo is doing. Those are special, like narrow intelligence purpose-built tools. They're very intelligent tools, And you could argue that that's a different modality. So like being able to mentally manipulate a protein, a complex protein or a complex strand of DNA, that is another modality. So when we say like we're aiming for saturation of universal modalities, there's a big asterisk on that, because I don't know if you're going to have GPT-6 or 7 or 8 is going to be able to internally understand the entire human metabolome and model that. I don't know if it's going to be able to model, the cosmos or something like gravity or, quantum relativity or those sorts of things. And I know that quantum relativity is not really a thing. I just kind of made that up. Or maybe it is. Anyways, I don't know what it is if it's a thing. But, all right, so dialing it back down to expectations for later today when GPT-5 is live streamed. That's what we are led to believe by OpenAI's Twitter feed. I suspect we're going to see a convergence of those three things. Number one, reasoning first model. Number two, it's going to be highly multimodal saturated. And number three, agentic first. And those are going to, I think, converge. And one of the things that I expect to see is that as you train, this is true for human brains as well as AI brains. As you train them to circumscribe more and more kinds of tasks and more modalities, they tend to get smarter across all other domains. So we've seen this for many, many years. The very earliest language models, we actually discovered quite by accident that if you train them on multiple languages, they get smarter. If you train it on a gigantic English corpus and a gigantic Chinese corpus, they got smarter at both. And it was kind of like, what's happening here? Now, with human brains, we've known this for a while too. Polyglots tend to have have some cognitive advantages over people who speak just one English. So us ugly Americans that only speak English, some of them poorly, we obviously have a disadvantage over Europeans who speak 3, 4, 5 languages. Now, the same thing we're finding, though, is true with modalities and different approaches. As you make AI better at one reasoning task, it tends to get better at math. As if it gets better at math, it gets better at image understanding and that sort of thing. So it's basically, we're on a project right now of, if you say, where is this going? So here's kind of the long story short. Where is all this going? We're going to, the end goal is anything to anything, where basically these AI models have the ability to represent any digital information internally, manipulate that digital information internally, and that is also connected to its perception and output. That's the direction that I think that it's going. That's what I expect to see more signs of with GPT-5 later today. If that's what we do see, then directionally I think that I am correct in terms of what we're building up towards. And of course, this is not anything groundbreaking or some revelation. This is the trend we've been seeing basically since ChatGPT came out and 4.0 when it became an integrated image generator. And so the models already have integrated image generation, integrated speech. So next step is integrated video, integrated X, that sort of thing. And NVIDIA has been working on this for a while too with their robotic foundation models. Now the big thing that I'm curious is will GPT-5 replace or augment or supplement those NVIDIA robotic foundation models? I am wondering if it will be better to have a end-to-end one model to rule them all kind of thing in the future, particularly for robots where they have to interact with humans in human-like spaces. The concern there is parameter count and can they run on mobile hardware. All right, that's about all I got. Thanks for watching. Let's see what they release.